Spiritual practice begins with awakening. If you want some objective test of your own awakening, then look at the scriptures. Look at the wisdom scriptures of the East, of Hinduism and Buddhism. Do you recognize the voice with which they're speaking? This awakening is not necessarily a once and for all event. In fact, it might only be a glimpse. It's something that comes and then it might pass. Or there might be a trace of it remaining, but it gets obscured. So spiritual practice is coming back to that awakening. The awakening itself can happen for any reason or for no reason whatsoever. It just happens. It's something that happens. But once it's happened, it has to be cultivated. It can be consciously cultivated. So the first state of yoga is this awakening, and we cultivate it by self-inquiry. We look at what takes the attention away from it. We look at what takes the attention away from itself. We have a two-pronged strategy. The main strategy is to consciously bring the attention back to itself. The other strategy is to work on with whatever practices help train the attention. Whatever practices or lifestyles which help us to stop promoting the hijacking of the attention. So these are the second two states of yoga. Vasishta continued. Should the yogi die at the third stage, he goes to heaven and rejoices with the gods there. Then he is born in the house of prosperous and noble parents and pursues the practice of yoga. Whether you believe that or not, the point is that a process has started. We're the result of forces. It's like the wave crashing on the shore. There's another wave behind it which was shaped by similar forces, and behind that there's another wave shaped by similar forces, and these waves crash towards the shore. With spiritual practice, we're directly affecting the forces that shape our being. So who can say what direction they will take us in future lives? But whatever future births arise will surely be happier and more benign. The first three stages of yoga are like the waking state, since they recognize the existence of the objects of the waking state. I suppose we could also call them the awakening state, couldn't we? In one who practices these, there arises a nobility of being, seeing which even ignorant and foolish people wish to attain liberation. Well, again, we've got some conventional understanding here. But there is no doubt that the sense of being becomes stronger. And some people might pick up on that. He is a noble person, an Arya, who does what should be done and refrains from doing what should not be done, and who lives a simple and natural life. He is a noble person, an Arya, who accepts whatever happens, but lives in accordance with the scriptures, engaging himself in appropriate activity. This nobility sprouts even in the first stage, grows in the second, and in the third stage it yields its fruits. One who dies in any of these is reborn as a yogi. I think the point here is the effort is never wasted. It's interesting though what it says here about a noble person who accepts whatever happens but lives in accordance with the scriptures, engaging himself in appropriate activity. I was reading in Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. He touched on this. He touched on it very nicely. He mentioned Krishnamurti, the Indian teacher Krishnamurti. It was quite a nice little story. Krishnamurti gave lots of talks throughout his life, but he wasn't easy to get what he was saying. This is on page 198. At one of his talks in the latter part of his life, he surprised his audience by asking, "Do you want to know my secret?" Everyone became very alert. Many people in the audience had been coming to listen to him for 20 or 30 years and still failed to grasp the essence of his teaching. Finally, after all these years, the Master would give them the key to understanding. "This is my secret," he said. "I don't mind what happens." He also gives the story of the Zen master Hakuin, whose response to everything was, "Is that so?" He was accused of fathering a child to a teenage girl, so he accepted it. He accepted the child, and then the teenage girl confessed that it wasn't him. After a year of him looking after the child, the teenage girl confessed that it wasn't him. So everybody apologized, and he just said, "Is that so?" So the point here is we don't respond to events with the ego. We respond with acceptance, total acceptance. The ego won't like that. The ego will dismiss that as being passive and weak. But that's the ego's point of view. And we're not interested in that. The real strength, the real power comes from total acceptance. Not from impotent fury. So Tolle's point is that the most important relationship in our life is with the present moment, with what he calls the now. This is our relationship with the universe. Do we take the present moment as our friend or as our enemy? This is the only choice we have. You take the present moment as your friend and you get on with life.